Hello everyone and welcome back to Early Years Explorers, the podcast where we dive into the big ideas shaping our little learners. I'm your host, Afaf Zaidan, early years educator, lifelong learner, and passionate explorer of the beautiful, messy, and magical world of early childhood education. Today's episode is all about joy, rhythm, and connection. We're calling this one Music, Movement, and Magic Moments. In this episode, I'll explore how rhythm, song, and movement empower young learners to connect, express, and thrive, and how these experiences shape their social, emotional, and cognitive growth. I'll also share a few real classroom stories, those spontaneous moments when a simple song turned into something truly magical. So whether you're tuning in from your classroom, your commute, or your couch, get ready to tap your feet, open your heart, and rediscover the rhythm that makes early learning come alive. Hi, and thanks for joining me. Think about this for a moment. From the second babies start swaying to a lullaby or toddlers stomp their feet to a beat, they're doing something incredible. Yes, they're adorable, too cute for words, but beneath that cuteness, something much deeper is happening. They're learning how to express, belong, and be part of something bigger than themselves. Now, if you've ever watched a group of preschoolers dancing together, well, I'm certain you know that they've got moves. Some of them are doing ballet, others are doing jumping jacks, and at least one is just spinning in circles like a tiny tornado. They don't care about rhythm, choreography, or even which direction they're facing. But in those moments of pure joy, so much learning is happening beneath the surface. Music and movement aren't just fun extras to fill the day. They're at the heart of how children think, feel, and learn. So research shows that rhythm and movement actually help build the neural pathways that support both language and mathematical understanding. When children clap to a beat, or tap their knees, or march in a line, they're practicing pattern recognition, the same skill they'll use later for reading and numeracy. And get this, Graham Welsh from the International Journal of Music Education found that singing in early childhood doesn't just develop musical ability, it strengthens speech, listening, and social confidence. So that off-key Baby Shark performance in your living room, that's early literacy training in disguise. Here's a classroom example. Every morning during circle time, we begin with a simple hello song. It helps the children transition from home to school. It builds their confidence and sets a positive emotional tone for the day. Even children who rarely speak during circle time hum along, showing us that participation comes in many forms. Sometimes that quiet little hum says more than words ever could. So the next time your preschooler belts out a song completely off key or invents a dance move that looks more like an earthquake than a waltz, just smile. That's not chaos. That's brain development in action. Their coordination, memory, and communication skills are literally growing through the music and movement they love most. Movement gives children a language of emotion. According to Denham, physical expression helps young children regulate their feelings and communicate emotions they can't yet put words to. When a child jumps for joy or stomps in frustration or twirls like a butterfly, that's emotional literacy in motion. Their bodies are speaking long before their vocabularies catch up. Sometimes that emotional literacy looks like a full body performance. You know, the dramatic sigh, hand to the forehead, slow collapse to the carpet, the preschool version of Shakespeare in motion. But even in those moments, children are doing important emotional work. During our How We Express Ourselves unit, which by the way was the last unit of the year, so you can imagine the energy levels. Think pre-summer excitement meets interpretive dance. That's the only way that I can explain this. Now, I invited the children to interpret music using scarves. I played a slow violin piece and asked, "How does this music make your body want to move?" It was fascinating to watch. Some children glided gracefully across the carpet as if they were floating on clouds. Others waved their scarves like they were caught in a full-force tornado. One child even decided their scarf was a superhero cape and flew around the room saving imaginary kittens. And honestly, I respect that level of creativity interpretation. When we sat down to reflect afterwards, one child said very seriously, after I asked them, "What did you think? How did it make you feel? Or what did the music sound like?" Now that child very seriously looked up and said, "It was slow, then it was fast." Now that might sound simple, but what a powerful observation it was. In that short sentence, the child wasn't just talking about tempo. They were describing how the music made them feel and how they changed inside. That's self-awareness in its earliest, most authentic form. Moments like these remind us that movement gives children permission to express big emotions in safe, creative ways. Before they can tell us, "I'm nervous" or "I feel excited," they show us through the bounce of their step, the swing of their arms, or the twirl of a scarf. So next time you see a preschooler doing what looks like an interpretive yoga to let it go, don't stop them. That's not chaos. That's communication. Now, in this next part, I want to talk about something we often overlook: why teachers should move too. We all know that early years teachers get their steps in before 9 a.m. Between tying shoelaces, chasing runaway crayons, and dancing through transitions, our smartwatches think we're training for a marathon. But intentional movement isn't just for the children. When we join in the dancing, jumping, and clapping, we're not just modelling participation. We're showing children that self-expression is something everyone can enjoy, no matter your age or coordination level. Research by Lobo and Winslow found that when teachers actively engage in movement activities, it strengthens teacher-child relationships and builds classroom trust. Children begin to see their teachers as co-learners, not just as the adults who give instructions, but partners in play and discovery. There's something really special that happens when a teacher hops like a frog or wiggles like jelly. Suddenly, the power dynamic shifts. You're in their world, speaking their language. I like to think of music and movement time as structured silliness with a purpose. 1 minute we're keeping a steady beat with rhythm sticks. The next we've somehow formed a spontaneous conga line that ends up in the block area. But within that joyful chaos, I see connection. Children laughing together, helping each other find the rhythm, or inviting a quieter friend to join the circle. And it's not just the children who benefit. A quick dance break between transitions can do wonders for us too. Movement releases endorphins. It reduces stress and reminds us why we chose this beautifully messy profession in the first place. Sometimes the best teaching moments happen when we let go of the plan and just move with the moment. When we move alongside children, we're saying, "I see you. I feel the rhythm too." It's a shared experience that builds empathy, belonging, and joy, one dance move at a time. So now we get to the part of the hidden power of playful movement. Every movement and melody in the classroom is connected to learning outcomes, even when it looks like pure chaos or unstructured learning. Research shows that movement is far more than just physical activity. Rhythmic movement strengthens coordination and self-regulation, while shared dancing builds empathy and trust. These aren't just extra skills. They're foundational for lifelong learning. When children sing, dance, and move, they're expressing ideas through gestures, rhythm, and play, making patterns and connections, physically and cognitively. They're taking risks, leading peers, and building confidence. They're engaging mind, body, and emotion. They're learning with their whole selves. Here's a classroom favourite. I love introducing movement stories, where we act out familiar tales using music. One of the most loved stories, and my go-to every single year, is We're Going on a Bear Hunt. I always start by reading the story first. The children listen intently and join in with the prompts, like long wavy grass and swish, 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 swish. Then I play the song version, and suddenly their eyes light up. You can see their little bodies start to jiggle with anticipation. That's when I invite them to become the characters and move through each part of the adventure. They swish through the grass and they stomp through the mud, splash through the river and stumble through the dark forest, and then they tiptoe into the cave. Just like in the story. Some children even add their own improvised gestures, a dramatic bear roar here or a heroic rescue there. And that's where the magic happens. Activities like this aren't just fun. They're learning in action. These children were practicing sequencing and memory, developing spatial awareness. They were expressing emotions and creativity, deciding on how each character might feel along the way. And of course, teachers need to join in too, because nothing makes a group of preschoolers laugh harder than watching their teacher trip over imaginary branches in an even more imaginary forest with the stumble, stumble, trip, stumble, stumble, trip. So the next time you see a child stomping through pretend mud or hiding from an invisible bear, remember, it's not just play. It's cognition, creativity, collaboration, and emotional literacy, all rolled into one joyful, muddy, musical movement story. Now, as we wrap up today's journey through music and movement, there's one thing I want to leave you with. In the early years, rhythm, song, and dance aren't just activities. They're powerful tools for belonging and connection. When children move together, sing together, or even invent their own little dance steps, they're doing so much more than keeping a beat. They're learning to listen, to respond, to collaborate. They're figuring out how to share space, take turns, and celebrate differences, all through joyful movement. In our classroom, we see this magic unfold every day. Maybe it's a quiet child humming softly to the hello song, or a group of friends stomping through an imaginary river during We're Going on a Bear Hunt. Sometimes it's just a full-blown, completely unplanned dance party in the middle of cleanup time, because apparently the broom makes a great microphone. Through these moments, children are expressing themselves, practicing self-regulation, and building those all-important social emotional skills, all while having the absolute best time. And let's be honest, when teachers join in, the magic doubles. When we sing, sway, or stomp right alongside the children, we're showing them that learning is something we do together. We're modeling confidence, flexibility, and creativity. Plus, bonus, it's a great way to get your steps in before lunchtime. Music and movement help create a classroom culture filled with joy, curiosity, and inclusion. And that's exactly the kind of environment where children don't just learn, they thrive. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Early Years Explorers. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a review or share it with someone who could use a little reminder to wiggle their way through the day. And next time you're in a classroom or even at home with your own children, don't just watch, move. Tap your feet, clap your hands, spin around and let yourself get a little silly. Because every stomp, twirl and hum is learning in action. It's connection, growth and pure joy wrapped up in rhythm. Music and movement brings out the best in children, and in us too. They spark creativity, build confidence, and remind us that learning should always be joyful, active, and a little bit messy, just the way it's meant to be in the early years. So whether you're tiptoeing through imaginary caves, twirling with scarves, or singing along to the Hello song, embrace the rhythm, embrace the fun, and embrace the learning. Until next time, keep exploring, keep moving, and keep making magic in every little step.